There are some people within the traditional martial arts community who are of the opinion that grappling, judo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, is insufficient for self-defense. The idea being that you don't want to be tied up with somebody if they pull a gun or a knife or a baton or some kind of impact weapon. Well, in this video, we're actually going to review, I think, 4 or 5 different videos that were uploaded to YouTube. They are of security footage that was captured of people being attacked by armed attackers. My philosophy on weapons disarms is that they should be avoided whenever possible. The margin for error against an armed opponent is so small that it's best not to engage at all. However, if one finds themselves being ambushed, they're in an area where they're trapped and escape is not an option, perhaps they have a child or elderly person who they can't simply leave behind, they are now forced to deal with this oncoming attack. In those type of scenarios, it has been my experience doing security and watching tons and tons and tons and tons of footage of people being attacked by armed attackers, excuse the redundancy there, that the highest percentage chance is grappling. And that there is a series of steps that is the best process, the best practice for dealing with someone coming at you with a weapon. That process is as follows. 1, evade. Don't get damaged. Evade the weapon coming in, deflect the weapon coming in, avoid taking any unnecessary damage. You may not be able to avoid all of it, but avoid absolutely as much as possible. 2, control. Secure and control first the weapon arm or weapon hand, and then if possible, the torso as well. 3, create a barrier between the weapon hand and the free hand. Oftentimes, especially with attacks where knives are involved, you'll have somebody who manages to get control of the weapon hand. They're no longer being stabbed because now they have control of the stabbing arm. And the attacker very quickly switches with his free hand, takes control of the knife. The person being attacked is not aware. They're still defending this arm over here. And the attacker comes over, yank, 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 yank. And it's all bad. So step 1, evade. Step 2, control. Step 3, create a barrier between free hand and weapon hand. That barrier might be positioning your body in between. That barrier might be pinning them against the wall or the floor. Somehow make it difficult for the hands to come together. And finally, step 4 being to disarm. To take the weapon away, if necessary, using pain compliance, eye gouge, biting, headbutting, elbows, knees, whatever it is that is necessary to get out alive, get the weapon and get safe. So that being said, let's go right into the footage. I hope you enjoy. Please comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Give me your ideas. Have you ever had to defend or take a weapon away from somebody? And if so, how did you do it?
All right, in this first video, we see the victim is being ambushed by the guy in gray. The guy in gray has a gun there, as you see. Our victim goes straight into a body lock. And after getting the body lock, he manages to secure both hands on the weapon hand. So he has 2-on-1. He's maintaining this position, doing a good job of controlling. Now here he has the person pinned. This position here is called a wrist ride. I would suggest looking up the fighter Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's excellent at this position. And as you can see, simply by maintaining pressure, keeping 2 hands on one. Now he messes up here. He makes a little bit too much space, or more than a little bit of too much space, but luckily the bad guy does not know what to do with it. He goes back to pressure, back to controlling, both hands on the weapon hand, doing a good job of making sure that the bad guy cannot switch hands. He gets the weapon away and bam, he's out the door safely. In this video, we have this elderly gentleman. He's not the bad guy. Here's the bad guy here. Bad guy comes in, he draws the weapon, and our elderly gentleman comes in with a nice tackle. Boom. We can't see how exactly he gets the weapon away. But now that he has hold of the guy, he has a nice kind of German suplex, full Nelson combination thing going on. He gets the person on the ground. He's making sure to keep control. He's pinning him. He had his control of the weapon hand. The guy gets away, but everyone survives. Again, control of the hand, control of the torso, gets the guy down, keeps control on the hand that potentially has the weapon. Good job to the old dude. We have another scenario here where this older gentleman in the bottom left-hand corner, keep your eye on him. He's going to be the one to essentially initiate the disarm. So our bad guy, he's pointing. He gets distracted. Boom. Control of the torso around the upper shoulder and neck and control of the weapon hand. He knocks the gun free. They're scuffling. One of the employees manages to get the gun away and then go and assist. During the scuffle, our bad guy pulls a blade, and you'll see that the guy in the cowboy hat here gets control of the weapon hand. By controlling the weapon hand and then going for the wrist, he managed to knock the knife out. And off screen, they end up subduing him, and I imagine holding him till the police get there. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and take the audio off for this video. I am not going to speak or interrupt. This video in particular is kind of disturbing. You're going to hear somebody screaming for help a lot. If that's going to bother you, I probably suggest you not watch. Unlike the other videos, this is not a bad guy pardon me. Unlike the other videos, this is not a innocent civilian defending themselves against a bad guy. This is actually a bad guy attacking a police officer who was armed. One of the reasons why I picked this video in particular is some could argue, well, all of these criminals, all of these people with weapons, they could be untrained. They may not actually have the motivation to use the weapon, and we're simply using them as intimidation factors. Well, here we have a police officer who has a weapon. The weapon is loaded. The weapon works, and the cop knows how to use a weapon. And we're going to see the bad guy, the perpetrator here, utilize simple things like underhooks, wrist control, taking the back, knee on belly, or a similar type of position, and ground and pound to completely dominate this armed police officer.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
There are 500 units calling to me.
The other problem was, as the sheriff indicated when we watched the video, he couldn't get to his radio to call for help. Luckily, he did do what he did, because as you heard, some of the neighbors that I think originally placed that 911 call did call our dispatch, update them that he was involved being viciously assaulted.
2100 on Scott Lane status. I have a party on the line saying there's an officer there being assaulted.
1120, we're on. 1109, hold the hand.
Emergency traffic needs me all in his current car.
At one point you heard the weapon go off. That was an intent by our officer to end this vicious attack upon him. After that was not successful, he actually did something to his weapon to make it useless for both him and the suspect. The fact that that weapon was discharged, the officers that were responding to the scene didn't have that information. It was actually reported, I believe, to dispatch. I don't know that they had time to report that back. So when they pulled up, all they knew was what they saw is a car on top of the officer. So that's why they went in and used the taser to subdue him. Had they known that he had been his firearm had been taken from him and he attempted to use deadly force, the response may have been different.
You can clearly hear those sirens, but he did not disengage.
We've all been involved in scuffles, and it's usually a scuffle to keep from being apprehended. So as soon as I break away from you, I'm going to run from the scene. This, and I think Officer Hyman quickly learned too, that this was not an attempt to escape. This was an attempt to kill him. And I think that's what brought that much more adrenaline to Officer Hyman.
5122, we've got one in custody. I need north line fire on the rest now.
5122, one in custody, north and fire on the rest. Do you need additional spots?
Well, there you go, guys. That's 4 different videos of people utilizing some kind of grappling principles to defend themselves in a real life scenario against somebody with a gun. Stay tuned for the next video. We're going to go over some knife footage, same general principle. There's going to be security footage, and we're going to break down how the people being attacked are utilizing grappling to deal with the bladed weapon. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned. Stay safe. Peace out.